Hey everybody, I'm going to experiment today, and I have some fabulous new toys of mine. The Caran Neo Color water soluble crayons. They are the bomb. I've got them out of order, but they're a crayon that is you color with, and then you can wet it with your brush and use it like watercolor. So I'm going to attempt to use it, but before I do that, I was thinking about outlining some petal shapes. But maybe I won't. Maybe I won't do it with the black Sharpie. But I want to pull out the colors from the painting. It was just, the detail is just a little too, just kind of bland. So I've got a kind of a fuchsia color. So I could actually come in here with the fuchsia color. And before I go very far, I want to try it out to make sure that it's going to look the way I want it to. So you basically just wet your brush and it blends it in. It kind of acts like a blending tool. So that does kind of work. So I'm going to go in. I've got one that's called there's the name. I can't read it. But this one says Violet. This one has dark lettering and I can't read the lettering. It's too small. So you basically would take it and outline your petal shape. So I say I want this right here to be a one petal by itself. So I'm pressing down pretty hard on this canvas, and this canvas is not super stiff. So I'm just wetting the purple. So I'm trying to decide if I want to use paint for shading or if I want to continue to use these crayons. I can actually color it. You can actually color a little bit and then just blend it with your brush, and it dries like watercolor. That's the cool part about it. So I guess that'll work. And I want to do this shape right here, and I don't have to get it exactly right because I can kind of blend it with my brush, but I do want the edges to be darker of the petal. So I'm just coloring the edge in, which doesn't look that great right now, but I'm wetting my brush. You don't need a ton of water. It just takes, and I'm kind of scrubbing it, and I'm kind of keeping the edge of my paintbrush right there along the edge of the crayon. So it works pretty good. You can use your finger to tap, if you just want a slight hint of it, like up here. See, if I use my finger, I can almost do shading there. That's pretty cool. So here I'm going to outline this one, and I'm going to come down into the yellow a little bit. I do want it a little bit deeper though along the edge of the petals, because I want it to kind of look like shading, So I'm just going to come in with my wet brush that I haven't even put back in the water yet. I need to do a little bit. But you can tap off a lot of the water. You don't need much water to kind of activate that purple. Now I want to, this is hot pinkish over here. I do want to make that purple in a minute. I'll let it dry though. So this one barely shows up, so I'm going to kind of go around the yellow part right here color it in a little bit and go up and around here, but I want this part to be darker. And you know, the color is pretty vibrant. It's not, you know, it's not real muted. The crayon looks a little bit on the muted side, but you can see how vibrant this color is on the canvas. And I can, you know, I can make it go up into the petal a little bit if I want to. I can tap it with my finger to blend. I really have a little too much water, but I can use it I can spread it out, make it very see-through, transparent, like watercolor. I don't do watercolors, but this makes it really simple to do with a brush. That's what I really like about it. That's not real defined. I'll go back in a little bit, and I don't remember which one I was using, huh? This one's more purple. So I'm going to come around here and maybe color in that edge a bit. Then take my very, very slightly damp paintbrush with water. Very vibrant purple. So I guess you can even keep kind of going in and shading a bit if you need to. So it's transparent enough to where you can still see through to your acrylic pour that's already dried, you know, for some time now. I'll come up around here a little bit. I'm not sure how I want to define that shape, but I'm just kind of winging it right now. But that definitely adds some vibrancy to it for sure. So I'm going to come around the edge of this gold right there. I'm going to color in this dark purple. Even though it's not really dark, it's pretty vibrant, but you know what I mean. Maybe just kind of fade that out right there, but so maybe make that really watery right there because I don't want it real definite. Caran is a French company. The company has been around for 100 years. I pulled up a YouTube video to try to figure out how to pronounce it. So, but of course the owner had a heavy French accent, so I can't say it like she does because I don't have that heavy French accent. So that basically gets in the shading there. Now I want to lift some of this off with my brush if I can. And I can also kind of go up around the edge of my pour and add a little bit more definition if I want to right there. Just with the wet crayon, just from getting it wet in that area and lifting some of that color, it, you know, kind of moves it. And then I can blend it softly with my finger, or if I need to, you know, wet a paper towel, like the tip of a paper towel, and go in and remove a bit, I can. But I guess I don't really want that really white there. I do want it kind of transparent in color. So right here, where the yellow is, I don't know if there's anything I can really do to make it look significantly different. But I can try to go in maybe with, this is a kind of a, it says something russet, so it's kind of like russet potatoes is the only way I can describe it. It has some other words in front of it. Their words are a little bit hard to see. But so yeah, that brings a little bit more of the orangey tone right there, and I can just basically use my brush and move some over here and here. Then I can also, there is a brown color. This one's called brown, believe it or not. So I can kind of, with it being wet, it's not gonna do as well. But I can kind of add some shading. I can wait for it to dry, and I can also come back and keep adding. I wanted to see, like this is called ultramarine blue. I want to see if I just added a little blue along the edge, what this would look like on the edge of this petal, kind of in the shadowy area. So I'm going to rinse that russet color out. And now I'm just kind of blending in this ultramarine blue, which doesn't look bad. So maybe I'll deepen the areas down near the bottom of the petal. Maybe I could even come in as a shadow. Let me see how that looks. That might be a little too hard. The good thing is if you don't care for it, what you've put there, you can kind of lift it off. You just keep adding water to keep it wet. But that does kind of give it a shadowy effect. So I could maybe just use my brush and come in here and throw in a little shadow here and there. So I'm going to lightly do it right here and bring it down deeper. So it does have a, gives it a shady kind of effect with the blue. You know, I don't want to use black for the shadow because black can really, you know, make it dull and kind of lifeless. That's why I like to use blue or purple sometimes in my shadows. Just to, because sometimes if you look at a shadow outside or in, you know, in nature and your home, oftentimes it is not, a shadow is not black or gray. It is a shade of whatever color. Say if it's green grass, it's going to be a shade of the grass, the green part of it. But, you know, if you were using pencil, it's obviously gray when you're coloring. If you were drawing in something and you put a shadow in, you would use your pencil to make the shadow. But with colors, you have to kind of think differently because you're not really going to shade something with gray. It's going to look really washed out. So I want to pump this up a little bit here on this edge, kind of a shadow effect. I don't know how well the camera is getting from that angle. I had too much water on my brush. So, for instance, out here on the white part, if I wanted it to feel just a little shaded, let's just say a little bit of turquoise. So I'm just going to go around the edge of the flower petal right here. And you see the texture of the canvas and everything because this is, you know, a canvas. It's not It's not purely smooth. And just by wetting it, that crayon, you can totally add. It's so cool. This set of crayons was not cheap. It was, you know, probably about $40 for maybe 20 crayons. You know, it's not like Crayola crayons. They're not cheap like that. I wanted the really big set, but it gets really expensive. So I thought to learn how to play with it, I would just get the cheaper set. I think I put it on the Amazon link under my videos. So when you order something from Amazon under my videos, you don't pay anything more for clicking on it through my link. It just gives me an opportunity to make a little percentage of sales. So I like that because it kind of gives it a little bit of personality in the area where there's nothing going on. So I'm just going around the edge of this, what it would be the petals. And then I'm coming back with my damp. See, and I have this, my brush has barely got water, so I'm adding more water to it. See, the more water you add, the more watercolory. It actually becomes more vivid. But then it removes those the crayon marks from the texture of the canvas too. And then, see, I'm going to take my little damp, I'm going to get my paper towel, make it damp a little bit, and just kind of softly tap to blend out that area. That just softens it a little bit. I can go back in and I can add a little bit of brush strokes if I need to, or I can use my finger and just kind of blend it out. But that gives it a little bit more personality. So I wanted to show you, and I was gonna possibly outline the petals and all with the black Sharpie, and I may still do that just to give it a little bit more definition. I wanted to see, I really, see, this is where you can't, I don't think you can do it with the crayons. This is the black crayon. So I really wanted to like make it look like some stamens or something going on right here. So I'm gonna just draw some lines and then take my damp brush. But see, when I make it damp, it does kind of make, I can kind of keep it a straight line, I guess. But I don't like that look. That looks too harsh. I can get a finer line with my little permanent Sharpie. But see, I can even go in with this little bit of black on my brush and just darken up a few areas if I want to. I was thinking about the leaves, and I don't know that I want to do anything with the leaves. But let's just do one edge just to see what it kind of looks like. So I'm kind of keeping it jaggedy. I don't want a straight edge or anything. I'm going to rinse my brush off mostly and add just that little bit of water. And see, it does kind of, it gives it a little bit more definition to that leaf right there. So that does help it a bit, I guess. And I've got, there's a bright yellow green. I could even, like here where the leaf kind of stopped in the pour, I can come back with my brush and give it a leafier look. I can come over here and just draw in a leaf just very softly with my brush. Let me come over here and give it an outline a bit. Just in a few areas. Yeah, I can even just draw a line probably. So where some of my edges weren't so definite, draw in. I'm going to come in with my wet brush and just kind of create. So it gives it a little help. I don't really want to fool with the leaves too much because they really look okay. The leaves are a little bit more iffy anyway. So I'm going to take my little Sharpie. I may or may not do it with me having done something wet on it recently, but just drawing in a few little lines and with some little stamens. And maybe just a little bit of a blackish center. And I can go back with that black crayon, kind of color that. Use my brush just the way it was with a little bit of that green in it, and just kind of just dab it. So it kind of gives it a little textured look, so that it's not really hard. Even gives it a little bit of a shadowy effect. And I'll put a little bit of brown right through here, see what that looks like. Okay, so that, I think that helped the picture. So you can kind of see it. It could be pretty much held either way, but I added the blue at the top and bottom. Don't need to be so close, I guess. And I added this in the center part. So just so you see the comparison of this one versus this one, where this has no definition and that one has a little bit more definition. This is actually pretty cool to be able to do this. If you're not used to like totally painting things, this might give you a little bit more freedom to feel like you can shade in some stuff. I'm trying to figure out where my other purple crayon went. There it is. So this time around I'm going to have to find some pretend edges, because this one doesn't have, it wasn't as defined in its shapes. So I'll just come across and pretend that there's one here maybe, and a little line right there, coming around here, and then I'll do one that's more one more violety. This one is has a little bit more red in the purple color, so I'll do a few with it. And then go back right here and use the deeper purple, and maybe make this 2 petals right there where it goes up. Okay. And here I'm going to deepen up this area a bit and around this gold area. So this defines the gold area in the center a little bit more. Okay, and then I had used that blue, the ultramarine blue, so I can come in with my ultramarine blue and do some shading as well, I think, at the same time, and then go back and do it all at once maybe. So I'll have to remember one side is a shadow and one side is the purpley color, but I do want some areas that are darker down towards the center of the petals. And maybe throw in just a hint of this magenta color. Okay, so I'll start maybe where I did the magenta part first. You can see that color just pop when you wet it. If I needed to define my petals even up here, you know, I can add that color right there at the edge, you know, of the petal, just to give it a little bit more pop. Now I'm gonna rinse a bit. I'm gonna go back and do kind of the bluish side, which is pulling that purple in, so I would have needed to do them separately, but that's okay. You learn as you go. So I'm just bringing that ultramarine blue out, kind of like shadows. You can use these crayons just like regular crayons. You can use them in mixed media pieces. You can do it, you know, with regular acrylics too, and I mean, you can just color with them. But these are made to add water to give this effect. So this is the really cool feature about this product, is that the water turns it into watercolor. Now, I would imagine that if I wanted to put a clear coat on this, say to give it a sheen or whatever, I don't necessarily need to put it on to protect it. I think it's going to be pretty safely protected. But if I wanted some sheen and I wanted to put a little varnish on it, I would probably say that I would be safer to spray a varnish on something like this as opposed to brushing on a water-based varnish, where you stand the chance of lifting off your watercolor here from the crayon. So I imagine once it's wet, if you were putting varnish on with a brush, it would probably lift up. So that would be my only caution, to just be careful with that. Let's add a pop of some red. What's this called? Scarlet. This is scarlet. Kind of right in this golden area, just in bits and pieces, just to give it some oomph. That's what little bit of color is out of my brush. Oh, see that? I'm going to lift some of it off. I don't want it too strong. I'm going to actually go back over to my other one and just throw a little bit in there, because there was almost like a hot pink color in the gold area over there, and I didn't know if I added it with the crayon or what, so that's why I'm trying to go back and put this pop of color just in a few places. And then I want to do more of this russet color just in a few areas to deepen up the gold. Maybe even put a little brown, just a little bit, and then go back. I've got the hot pink or reddish color in on my brush, but so I'm just adding that pop of color, and going to do what I did on the other one and just lightly go around the petals. Magically, it's just magic. It's just so fun. And then, just lightly tap with your, I'm probably using way too much water is my problem. Let me put some over here on this side. So if you put very little water, it's way more powerful than if you put too much water. But just kind of softly blending. So this kind of makes it look like an acrylic pour, but then it also gives it that watercolor effect, which is so pretty. I'm adding a little bit of ultramarine blue here and here. These would be the darkest areas of the petal that are kind of shaded. There's a white one, a white crayon, and I don't think, let me see, I don't know if it'll make any difference or not if I were to put white on the edge of something. I mean, I guess it does kind of make it stand out a bit. So I could even go around the edges of this if I wanted it to kind of pop a bit. I'm pressing pretty hard on these canvases because these are kind of waxy crayons. That makes that area stand out a bit more. So I can do that. So maybe while I'm waiting on this one to dry a bit in the middle, I'm going to switch back to this one. Maybe put a white highlight on these little stamens. And then right around the edge. I have a friend, she's a mixed media artist. Her name is Pat Batinsky. She's in New Jersey, and she has an Instagram page, Pat Batinsky Art Talk. She does fabulous abstract pieces, and she uses mixed media as far as crayons and markers and the paint pens and things like that. I'll have to ask her if how she seals her stuff. So let's go in maybe to the dead center here, do a little black. Well, okay, so I'm going to put a little black in, maybe a little brown. And then before I wet it, I'm going to do the Sharpies, the Sharpie part, because it won't go over a wet background. You got to get it while it's dry. I think because I colored in that area. I should have done the pen first. Now I'm going to go back and wet. I got white on my brush from the white crayon. Just wet it a bit to deepen it a bit. And I want to do, like maybe here, make this look like a edge of a leaf because there's not color. I'm going to go over here and deepen that. See, I've got some of that black on my brush. And plus I'm giving that leaf edge a little bit more of an edge. But then I'm getting some of the green that I'm going to put back here in the middle with this brown, just so it just doesn't look all brownish. Just bringing in another color. Once it dries, I can add some more of the Sharpie pen back on top to make it darker. So, like, I kind of lost the shape of a leaf right here, so I'm going to just kind of draw in and color in a little bit of a leaf with this greenish. There's a limey one too, so I can put a little limey color there. And maybe just, you know, a soft edge. And then come in with my brush and totally create that leaf. And you would almost think it was already there, you know? Maybe I'll come out here with one that I don't have here in this area. So I'm just lightly coloring it like a little child, not even with any skills. Dampen my brush. And look at that. I'm just kind of wiggling it. You don't even want it to have a hard edge. It's just a soft watercolory effect. I'm going to take this area right here that's kind of funky. Give it more of a shape. Add in some of the yellow green and the limey green. Wet it. And look there. So it gives it just a little bit more of a leaf shape. I accidentally went over the edge there with my crayon, so I'm just going to wipe that up. Actually, that looks like a little bird in the corner. It doesn't look like a leaf, it looks like a bird. I can add some. This is so much fun. Put a little bit more green back down there. So I think you probably get what I mean, how I'm doing the leafy part. I can come over this blue area right here and just do a dark area. Maybe put a little blue, deeper ultramarine blue with the green down there. Wet it just slightly. The key is to get your brush to cooperate, but it almost, for leaves, it's almost better to have a shaky hand because then it's not straight edges. It's almost more believable that way. Okay, I don't like that they're both going the same way. So how about, see, I can wet it and take it the other direction. So that worked because you just wet it and lift it right off. I want some yellow green right on the edge there. I want to incorporate that yellow green in. I could even, see, I could come in even with a little bit of yellow on the edge. So it kind of warms up that green just right there. All right. There was an area that I accidentally scratched the crayon across right there. I'm going to lift that off totally. Now I'm going to try to come back here in the center like I did the other one. Kind of, when you're drawing on something that is wet or crayon or waxy, you gotta kind of take your pen off of it and draw it on something to get the ink to flow again. So that kind of helped. And then come in with my little white accent. And come back and do that again to these edges. I'm just curious. Like right here where this flower is kind of nondescript. It's not, there's not really an edge for the flower, or wanted to see if I could make it look a little bit more intentional. It just makes it kind of milky looking. Like there's areas that blend into the leaf, and I'm not gonna try to do anything with that. Might darken this up right here where it's a deeper purple. Put a little bit of that blue there just to give it a shaded effect a little bit. So I was going to use acrylics or acrylic paints and, you know, paint with them. And I thought, you know, I might give these new crayons a try. I did a flower painting. It wasn't a flower paint, it was like a watercolor with these crayons. And I loved it. So I wanted to test this out and see if, you know, I could possibly do it with over a pour, and you can. So now you know. Now I'm going to put a little bit more of this magenta color in a few places, just because I see a lot more of it over there in the other one. So I'm just going to give it a pop of it here and there. Where else did I color it? I'll try to get a little bit more black. I need something right here, so I'm gonna shadow the edge of the petal. So I've got this color is malachite green, so it's going to be a blue-green color. I want to give this part of this leaf a little bit of depth because this petal is just blending into the leaf. So I'm going to add a little of the other green that's warmer. So it's got a little bit of the blue green and the other green. So I'm just going along the edge of that crayon and wetting it. And then just, you know, shade it into the pour. So that helped make the edge of the petal there stand out more. So maybe if I flip this around, and maybe do that on this side as well, just in a few areas, not the whole thing, but where this flower is totally not defined. I'll put some of the limey or yellow green in with it. So that gives it right there. I'm gonna see if I can get more of a definition. See, I can even throw probably a little black in here too, because there is a little dark green in the pour. I'm just trying to get a little bit more of an edge right there. Maybe I'll put a little bit of this turquoise blue right along the edge here of this leafy area, just to give it some depth. Go back down to this one here and do a little bit of the turquoise on this end. So it's almost like a shaded, shadowy effect, but that gives it a little bit more oomph. Okay. Put these side by side. Let you see the one. And then the other one. So it just gives it a little more definition. It'll help focus in a little bit better so you can see the details. I'll turn it this way just so you can see them side by side. So that was with the Caran crayons, if that's the way you pronounce it. Water soluble. I love them. Love, love, love them. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And I will see you on the next one. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up, please, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And click on the bell in the bottom right corner. That will help you get notifications when I post new videos. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.